December 19, 1979, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. An 18-year-old high school senior, Michelle Martinko, attends a banquet for the Kennedy High School Concert Choir at the Sheraton Inn. Michelle was well known in her community, smart, kind, with a warm personality and striking looks. She was on the pom-pom squad in choir and active in school theater. Friends described her as confident and cheerful, but also down to earth, someone who treated everyone kindly. In her personal life, Michelle had recently broken up with her boyfriend, Andy Seidel, a fellow Kennedy High student. The two had dated for about a year. Friends said Andy had been deeply attached to Michelle, and the breakup was hard on him. According to testimony later shared with police, he struggled to accept that it was over, and sometimes showed up unexpectedly at places she went. Michelle's friends later told investigators that she cared about Andy, but she was ready to move on. She told some classmates that she didn't want to be tied down as she looked ahead to graduation and college. Despite their breakup, Michelle and Andy remained on civil terms. When police later questioned him, he admitted they'd spoken that very night, a brief, friendly exchange at Westdale Mall, one of the last known conversations of her life. When Michelle arrived at Westdale Mall that night, the stores were glowing with Christmas displays. It was around 7:30 p.m. Several witnesses later reported seeing her inside, walking casually through JCPenney, looking at clothing racks, and stopping to chat briefly with acquaintances. Her classmate Tracy Price told investigators he saw her first, cheerful and relaxed, saying she was there to pick up a coat. A little later, Todd Bergen and a friend spotted her again near the food court. Todd remembered that she laughingly showed them the roll of cash she was carrying, something unusual for a teenager, and then waved goodbye. Soon after, she ran into Andy Seidel. He said he was buying a Christmas gift for her. The conversation was short, polite. Witnesses later described Michelle as calm, friendly, and completely at ease. Finally, near closing time, Curtis Thomas, another classmate, saw Michelle near the exit. He recalled her smiling and walking toward the parking lot, a moment he would never forget. Later, he told police she wasn't scared. She wasn't looking over her shoulder. She was just Michelle. Those encounters would become the final verified glimpses of her alive. When Michelle didn't return home, her parents called friends, then the police. At around 4 a.m., officers discovered the family's Buick Electra in the northeast corner of the Westdale Mall lot near JCPenney. Inside, they found Michelle slumped across the passenger seat. She had been stabbed 29 times in the face, neck, and chest. Her hands were cut from fighting back. Nothing was stolen. Her purse and jewelry were still there. Investigators quickly ruled out robbery. This was personal. Cedar Rapids police began an exhaustive investigation, interviewing hundreds of people. Dozens of officers were assigned to the case. The first and most obvious lead was Andy Seidel. He cooperated completely, took multiple interviews, submitted to a polygraph, and never changed his story. Detectives found nothing to tie him to the crime. Even so, his connection to Michelle kept him under suspicion for years, until DNA technology would later clear him. Another lead came from Phoebe Smith Porter, an employee at Pier 1 Imports in the mall. She told police she saw Michelle's Buick alone in the parking lot late that night. Its location burned into her memory. Her sighting helped establish a timeline of when the car was last untouched. Detectives released a composite sketch based on a man seen loitering near JCPenney that night. A white male, late teens or early 20s, curly brown hair. Despite hundreds of leads, the case went cold.
once we got past the immediate acquaintances, boyfriends, my husband's DNA was even taken, which made sense.
I remember hearing that.
Yeah. Then we really had nowhere else to go. We had no clue, and that's, I think, when we really lost hope.
I'll just say that
Yes,
after the boyfriend was ruled out, and he was ruled out twice, when his DNA came back, they couldn't believe it. They thought maybe they made a mistake, so they sent a guy down there again to get some more DNA, just to make absolutely sure.
Sure.
And when he was ruled out, really, I think Janet changed. I think she went from having some hope that if it was he, there would be a solution. But when he was ruled out, then all bets were off. We had no idea who it could be. And my thesis ended up being that it was an over-the-road trucker or somebody who came off Interstate 80 and got back on the road and away went. 90% of murders are caused by people who know the victim. And so, just the law of averages tells you it's probably going to, statistically probable that it's going to be somebody she knows. But when just about everybody and their brother was ruled out, you're left with that unknown quantity.
Sure.
And then we got to the very painful part, and destructive really, were all the theories, because people have to have a story, they have to have a reason, they have to know the why. And so when, the usual suspects had gone by the wayside, then it was, kind of reaching for almost in everything. And that was extremely difficult because of all that was coming through on a monthly, if not weekly basis.
The case remained dormant until 2006, when a cold case detective by the name of Matt Dellinger reviewed evidence from the car. He found preserved blood on Michelle's dress and on the gear shift of her car, belonging to an unknown male. The DNA didn't match anyone in national databases. Then in 2018, investigators uploaded that DNA to a public genealogy website. It led them to distant relatives of a man named Jerry Lynn Burns, a 64-year-old businessman from Manchester, Iowa. Detectives followed Burns and collected a drinking straw he discarded. When they tested it, the results were a perfect match to the DNA from Michelle's car. On December 19, 2018, exactly 39 years after her murder, he was arrested by Cedar Rapids Police Department. He was sentenced to life without parole for the murder of Michelle Martinko, with a bail condition of $3 million.
Jerry Burns, you've been accused of the crime of murder in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code sections 707.1 and 707.2 sub 1 sub A. It's alleged that on or about December 19th, 1979, in Lynn County in the state of Iowa, with malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, killed Michelle Martinko at 2600 Edgewood Road Southwest in Lynn County, Iowa. He has evaded apprehension for 39 years. He also owns a business, and given his age, he would have resources and the knowledge to run. So given the violent nature of this offense, the impact on the community, and potential flight risk, the state would request a cash-only bond in the amount of $5 million.
After 39 years, Michelle's case was finally closed. For Michelle's family, it was an emotional ending to a lifetime of questions. Her older sister, Janelle Stonebreaker, had been one of the most vocal voices pushing for answers. When Burns was convicted, she told reporters she was relieved but still heartbroken, that while justice had been served, it would never bring her sister back. Michelle's cousin, Janet Keene, described sitting through the trial as overwhelming, saying that after so many years of uncertainty, finally knowing the truth felt surreal. Friends and former classmates who attended the proceedings said the verdict lifted a weight the entire community had carried for decades. At the courthouse, many people cried quietly as the judge read the sentence. Some said they felt Michelle had finally been given a voice again, that her story had finally come full circle. Even investigators were emotional. Detective Matt Denlinger, whose father Harvey had worked the original case back in 1979, said that closing the file after all those years was deeply personal, that it felt like finishing something his father had started. You know, I think what makes this case so haunting isn't just the brutality of what happened, it's how long the truth sat right there, waiting. The blood evidence was preserved from the very beginning, and I can't help but think the police could have done more over the years. I get that technology wasn't what it is now, but even as DNA testing advanced through the 90s and early 2000s, it feels like this case could have been reopened sooner. Maybe Michelle's family wouldn't have had to wait 4 decades for answers. I think about how many other cold cases are out there, just like this one. Cases that could be solved if someone took the time to look again. It's frustrating, because Michelle did everything right. She went to her school banquet, went shopping, and drove home. She should have been safe. To me, that's what makes this story so heavy. How ordinary the night was, and how easily it could have been anyone. But it also shows that even after decades, justice is possible. Science, persistence, and people who refuse to forget can still bring light to the darkest places. Michelle Martinko was only 18, a daughter, a friend, a classmate, a life full of promise, stolen far too soon. But in the end, the truth endured. If you made it this far, thank you. Stories like this take time to make, and if you want to see more, please take a second to subscribe, like, and share this video. It really helps more people discover these cases. And maybe it helps keep other stories from being forgotten. If you have any specific cases that you want me to cover, let me know in the comment section. Until next time, this is Obscura Cases. Stay curious, stay safe, and remember, the truth always leaves a trace.